Hey guys, this is Amir from MMOs.com with a quick weekly news recap of all major MMO news and announcements for the week ending December 4th, 2017. This is episode number 124 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week comes from Black Desert Online, and the news is that the Mystic class for the game is slated to launch on December 13th. To get people excited for the new class, Kakao Games is allowing players to customize their Mystic character starting on December 6th, which is this Wednesday. Anyone who customizes their Mystic class gets a free 7-day Horse Flute, a 1-day Blessing Come Slivia, and a 100G gold bar. Kakao is also giving everyone an additional free character slot in the off chance that you've filled up your slots already. Black Desert Online continues to be one of the biggest MMORPG launches of the last couple of years as well, with over 10,000 concurrent players on Steam alone, with likely more than double that off Steam. Next up, also Black Desert related, but on the mobile front. Black Desert Mobile finally got a South Korean launch date, and it's actually right around the corner. Black Desert Mobile will be playable in South Korea sometime next month in January 2018, and I'll actually make sure to do a first look video for it. I'm personally never too excited for mobile games, but this is one of the few mobile MMORPGs which actually looks promising. Oh, and this game will definitely be launching globally in English as well. According to Pearl Abyss, the game's developer, it'll be launching globally sometime later in 2018. There's a lot of hype behind this one as well. Apparently the game got over 1 million pre-registrations in 1 week in South Korea, which is pretty huge. I'm kind of curious to try this one out. Next, World of Warcraft latest raid content, Untaru the Burning Throne, is now officially live in both normal and heroic modes. The new raid features 11 raid bosses, which is quite a bit of content, especially considering the slow pace of raid content released in other games like FF14. Given the only normal and heroic modes were released, it shouldn't be too surprising to hear that it's already been cleared. Mythic difficulty though is set to launch tomorrow on December 5th, which should be quite a bit harder. The Looking for Raid mode should be coming out later in January as well for the super easy modes. Next up, the new MapleStory class Cadena officially launched this last week in part 1 of the Nova Liberation update. The MapleStory Nova update is spread out into 4 different updates that should all be launching by the end of next month. Part 1, which is live, is definitely the biggest one so far, as it adds a new playable class to the game. I personally plan on leveling a Cadena once the new Mega Burning event goes live, which is set to begin on December 14th. The Cadena update also adds a new 5th job skills to the game, as well as a bunch of other goodies. Also worth mentioning though is that there's been a bit of a nerf to bossing rewards, as well as a bug fix which actually reduced some of the drop rates in other maps, which has created a bit of a stir on the MapleStory subreddit and other places. And speaking of Nexon Games, Nexon announced this week that Dragon Nest 2 Legend will be shutting down on December 29th, 2017. This was a mobile game, and to be honest, I'm not surprised at all. I did a first look for this mobile game already, and it was pretty damn generic. In fact, the game basically had nothing to do with the original Dragon Nest game, as the entire art style as well as the feel of the game wasn't anything like the PC version of Dragon Nest. The news did catch some people by surprise though, because the game only lasted a few months. I think their beta began in August of 2017. Frankly, while mobile games are definitely booming, there's been a lot of really bad mobile games out there that have no business existing. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of these M-tier mobile games shutting down over the next year or so. Next up, a pretty big update for Revelation Online just launched this last week called the Shadowblade update. The previously announced Assassin class is officially playable, and there's also a new class change system in place. The way class changing works is that once every 45 days, players can literally just switch over to a new class. They retain their levels, but their stats get refunded and can be reallocated. Class changing is allowed once every 45 days, but requires players to be at least level 59. It's a neat system, and it's going to allow people to try out the new Assassin class without having to start over at level 1, which I'm sure will get a lot of people trying it out. Next, players can now create Elin Gunners in Tera. Anyone who logs into Tera before December 8th also gets a free character slot, which is good for any new character. In addition, Tera is holding a login event each weekend where players get special rewards just for logging in. There's also a leveling event going on which runs until January 2nd, 2018, where anyone who reaches max level with a new Gunner class will get an event-exclusive pink Will Suit and a pink Arcanon. And for those that haven't played Tera in some time, getting to max level isn't too hard nowadays anyway. Right along, a bit of an update for Albion Online, more so a look at the state of the game. The game's playbase continues to decrease 19 weeks after release. In fact, it's all been downhill since the release of the PvP-centric sandbox MMORPG. Week 2 since the game's launch had about 148,801 players gaining fame, which is a proxy for in-game activity. It's basically doing anything in Albion Online has you gaining fame. Week 19, that number is down to 24,482 characters gaining fame. Still, the game isn't quite dead despite the decrease in players, as it takes place on a single mega server, so it can still feel quite busy. Plus, they recently launched beta testing for their iOS app, so perhaps a mobile push will get those numbers back up again. It's definitely sad to see the numbers decline, especially for such an interesting, different MMORPG, but it's a PvP full loot MMORPG, which may not appeal to everyone, but we'll see how the mobile push does for it. Up next, the previously announced Guild Wars 2 Season 4 Episode 1 update known as Daybreak is officially live. Introduces a new fractal for players to experience called Twilight Oasis, as well as a new raid called Hall of Chains. There's also a new legendary focus called Ars Goetia, and I pronounced it horribly wrong, and a bunch of other small changes. This obviously won't be the last big content update for Path of Fire, as the Path of Fire update is still quite new. You do need to have Path of Fire to get Season 4 Episode 1 content though. Next up, Moon Legend announced its first content update since launching into beta. The game is adding new cross-server 3v3 PvP matches to the game on December 5th, which is tomorrow. In addition, Webs announced that they're working on a new content which will combine social and PvP elements. in the near future. I've been playing a bit of Mobile Legends myself since it launched, and honestly, the first 2 to 3 weeks were basically unplayable due to the constant disconnects, but it's been much better this last week. The constant disconnecting issue seems to be resolved. The game is actually playable now. Mobile Legends is basically a Path of Exile or Diablo 3 style ARPG, but with persistent world and some traditional MMORPG elements. It's not bad now that the lag is fixed. Next, EverQuest 2 launched the Planes of Prophecy expansion this last week, which is a throwback to the original Planes of Power expansion in the original EverQuest game. While EQ2 is free to play, the new expansion does have to be purchased to access the new content. The cheapest package is available for $34.99 and includes a level 100 character boost, but players can also opt in to purchase the premium edition for $139.99, which is a ton of other in-game goodies, but it does seem a bit pricey to me. $139.99 is a lot of money. The new expansion adds new dungeons, increases the game's level cap to 110, adds ascension levels up to 15, increases trade skill cap to 110, and a whole lot more. EQ2 may be a bit of an oldie, but it's still got a lot to offer. The game gets an expansion every single year in late November, so we'll have to wait another year for the next big one, but its Planes of Prophecy is now out. Moving right along, Marvel Heroes Omega officially shut down this last week, which is actually a bit odd because it shut down a full month ahead of schedule. The game was already set to close, but seeing it shut down early goes to show how grim things are over at Gazillion Entertainment. The PC, Xbox One, and PS4 versions are all dead. Rest in pepperoni, Marvel Heroes. Next up, the upcoming EVE Online update titled Arms Race is set to go live tomorrow, and with it comes an expanded alpha skill set. The update makes the free-to-play experience in EVE Online much more tolerable as it gives players access to more skills, including access to all Tech 1 hulls right up to battleships. In addition, free access to skills that allow the use of Tech 2 small and medium weapons are also available. While EVE Online isn't exactly booming, it's one of the longest running MMORPGs out there and also one of the most unique games. Player base wise, the game is still pretty huge. It gets on average 24,000 players online at any given time over the last few weeks. Next up, a small bit of news for Final Fantasy XIV. The game's next producer live letter is set to be live on December 15th, 2017, where you'll hear Yoshi P and some of the developers talk about the upcoming content for Final Fantasy XIV, including a preview of Patch 4.2 Part 1, as well as a bunch of other goodies. And alongside that, there's actually a free login campaign happening right now for Final Fantasy XIV. If you haven't played the game in some time, you can log in between now and January 4th, 2018 entirely for free during that login campaign. In order to qualify though, you must have had a subscription in the past, and it's pretty generous because you can play for a month for free. The next and last bit of news this week comes from Bungie and Activision Blizzard. Destiny 2 launched a free trial earlier this week that allows anyone to try out the game for free. Destiny 2 had a bit of a drama this last week as well, where they reduced XP rates without telling anyone, which created a bit of a shitstorm. I think the biggest issue here is that not the balance changes of the XP nerfs themselves, but the lack of complete transparency around it, which got people really pissed off. But anyway guys, that's it for MMO News this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later guys.